In this tutorial, we're going to use hand regression to figure out how many visits are for each demand, basically. So we're going to be trying to predict the number of visits for a certain amount of demand. So the first thing that we're going to do in hand regression is figure out the average of the x and y columns. So we can just do average and then just highlight all of the x data. So we get 7, and in Excel we can just kind of copy that over. So we get y. So here we're going to have a whole bunch of little columns that are basically tell you what you're going to do in each one of the columns. So the first column is going to be x minus the average of x, and this is when you write it down, it's going to be x with a little bar over it. So what we're going to do here is just x minus the average of x, and if we just hit F4 on this, it'll make our lives a little bit easier, so we don't need to keep typing out x minus x average all the way down. So we can just kind of copy that all the way down. And if we just sum that up, it should equal 0. So if it doesn't, then we got the x average wrong somehow. So the next thing that we're going to do is kind of the same that we did for the x, but for the y. So y minus y average. I'll keep it similar. So just equals this minus the average of y. And if I hit F4, it'll lock it for us so that we can drag it down. In here, we can just sum up the bottom, or sum it up at the bottom. And we see here too that it equals 0. So the next thing that we're going to do is multiply these two together. So we're going to do x minus average of x times y minus the average of y. So here we just do equals this times this, and then we can copy it right down. And we're also going to sum that one up too. So we get 21. So now we're just going to, the next column that we're going to do is we're going to square the x minus x average, or average of x column. So it's just going to be x minus average of x root 2. And in this one it's just going to be the same thing as this, but we're going to be squaring y. So y minus average of y root 2. So if we just do this root 2, we can actually copy that over and down. And you see that it just squared this column. So that's how we know that's right. And then we can also sum that up. So it's not going to be as quick as writing it because you'll need to do each one of these out. So that's why I use Excel to do it like this. So the next thing that we need to do in order to finish the rest of this table is find B1, which is going to be the slope of our equation, and B0, which is going to be the intercept of our equation. So to do this, it's just going to be x minus x average times y minus y average, and it's going to be the sum of that divided by the x minus x, or the average of x squared, and we get 0.75. So the slope is going to be 0.75. For B0, it's going to equal the average of y, or y bar, minus, then in parentheses, x bar times B1. So we need to find B1 in order to find B0. We'll just hit enter. So we get a 41.6 repeating. And also another way to check this in Excel is if we go to the data column and we use the add-in for data analysis, and we go down to regression. I already did this, but we can just highlight the y's, highlight the x's, and if you want to include labels like I did, you just do labels, and then we just click the output range of wherever we want, so right here, or we can do it on a new sheet. So we see that by looking down here, the intercept is 0.416, repeating, kind of like right here, and B1 is the same as right here, so we did it correctly. The next thing that we're going to do is y hat. So I'm just going to do y hat, and it would just be basically y with like this little caret over the y. So that is just going to be B0 plus, alright, let's lock that cell, plus B1 times x. Lock that one as well. So times x. And then we can do that all the way down. And we don't need to sum up this one. So our next column is going to be y hat minus average of y, or y bar. So y hat minus average of y. So equals this minus the average of y, and let's lock y so we can drag it down. On this one too, we're going to notice if we sum it up, that it equals 0. So this too, if this one doesn't equal 0, then we did something wrong in finding B0 and B1, and we would actually need to go back and figure out what we did wrong. The next thing that we're going to do is just we're going to square this column. So y hat minus average of y squared equal this root 2. And we're also going to sum that up. Okay, so we're almost done here. So now to find our r square, it's just a real easy formula. It's just going to equal what we just found, so y hat minus y average squared, and that's the sum of that divided by y minus y average squared, and we get 0.9018. And we see that here and here it's the same, so we did it correctly. So with this formula, let's say we wanted to find the number of visits for let's say 7 demand. Well, let's do 20. All we would need to do is equal B0 plus B1 times the number that we want to find it for. So if we were to have 20 demand, we would have 15 visits. So that's basically it for finding or predicting for demand to find visits. And I hope you found this helpful.